This is my heater. I dare you to hit it.
He'll be sorry.
Want the heater? I'll give it to you.
Basketball, maybe they don't hit it.
A swing and a drive to deep right. Clear the deck. Cannonball coming. Left field. It is out of here.
What up? What's good? We are back. Another episode of Baseball Unstitched. And as you can tell, I am not Ryan. I am taking over for today. It is me and Jackson because Ryan is on vacation. He is in Florida enjoying himself, getting some much needed time off. But we got a full episode for you today, including Jackson's bullpen. But as always, we will start with This Week in Baseball. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the San Francisco Giants because we talked about it all offseason. Felt like they put together a good roster. Doesn't seem like it's turning out the way that they'd hoped through the first 10 games of the year. And then, as mentioned, we'll hit some Jackson's bullpen, see what Jackson's got for us this week. And then we'll start talking about the Yankees because their pitching staff has been damn near elite to start the season, and it's worth a shout out. And we're going to dig into why it's been so good and where they rank across baseball. Then we'll give you our final thoughts, and we'll move on with our lives. But first, Jackson, as we do, how was your week?
Weekend was pretty good. Spent it in Birmingham, Alabama. Traveled to take on Sanford for a weekend. We did the good old-fashioned backdoor bucks where we lost the first one, got depressed, and then won the next two, stole the series on the road. Big one for us. Then spent all day yesterday doing scouting reports and spreadsheets as my normal day goes. But excited to be on this week and talk some baseball for longer than 10 minutes.
I love it. I'm excited to have you for a whole episode. Now, I do have to ask the question because you mentioned the whole backdoor Bucks thing last week. And how does your Friday night guy feel about this? Because I feel like a lot of it hinges on him losing. And I bet he would like to not lose those games. Is he like all for it, or is he like off in a corner somewhere like, all right, guys, I get it. I'll go win a game.
So our first one we did at UNCG. Our Friday guys didn't pitch great. This past weekend we actually kept our Friday, Saturday guys on schedule, and had a new Thursday guy who was kind of like a reliever who hasn't pitched a whole ton and got shelled. So we kept our Friday, Saturday guys, and they did their jobs. That's how we got the back door this week.
There we go. All right, so sweep this coming week.
Yeah.
Is the expectation you guys are in Nashville playing against Belmont, correctly?
Non-conference weekend, yeah.
Non-conference weekend. Go beat up on Belmont. You'll be back home in Nashville.
Back home, yeah. That's
huge. I was supposed to be there. I won't be there, unfortunately, to meet your parents. That was really the only reason I wanted to be in Nashville. But before we get into This Week in Baseball, I saw a question on Instagram this week, and I was like, I have to ask Jackson this question. And I wish Ryan was here to ask this question to, but I'm going to give you my best Ryan impression after you give me your answer. But here's the question. What is the highest level of baseball that you think you could pitch a no-hitter?
I've thought about it. I've been thinking about it. My arm is somewhat like in shape. Like I throw with guys at ETSU a lot. Like I can throw a baseball. I have thrown a baseball recently. Issue is I don't think I've gripped another pitch in 3 years. It's been get the 4-seam grip, throw it to the guy, make sure it hits him in the chest. I think like 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, get me on a little bit of a shorter field so I could makes it look a little harder.
Yeah.
Because I think I can hit the guy in the chest, consistently. I think if I can just hum fastballs past like a 9, 10-year-olds over and over again, I think I can get it done. But if they catch up to the fastball, it might be a little bit of trouble. I have to like expand the fingers, get a little like slow it down, a little
Bugs Bunny changeup.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you like? Is there a period of time like if I gave you 3 weeks to just start, mixing some pitches in a bullpen? Do you think you'd be like, all right, I could get some 12-year-olds out, I could get some 13-year-olds out? Do you think it's contingent on being on a small diamond, being like 45 feet away? Or do you think what you could back up to 60 feet?
I think if you give me like a month or two, I can figure it. It also depends on like the defense behind me. If I have a 13-year-old defense, I might be in trouble. If I have my boys at ETSU behind me, I think we got a better chance to get some more outs. I feel like that's also a little bit important as well.
I like to think that there's at least a JV team out there. I've been pitching the last couple of years now in men's league. I don't give up a lot of hits in men's league, to be honest. I like to think that there's a JV team out there at, what is that, 15, 16 years old on a full-size diamond that I could throw a no-hitter. And we're talking about a high school no-hitter at that rate, right? I only have to throw 7 innings. I don't have to go a full 9. So that's helpful. Ryan, I can almost guarantee you Ryan's answer would be that there is a varsity high school team out there that Ryan believes he could no-hit. No question in my mind. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past him believing that there is a college baseball team out there that he believes he could no-hit. No question in my mind.
As someone who played some bad high school baseball teams in high school just recently, Flex, there's no doubt in my mind you could beat you can no-hit some of them. I
appreciate that.
Bad high school baseball.
I appreciate that. I definitely could not no-hit my own high school baseball team, but I know that there is varying levels of baseball out there across the board. Okay, this week in baseball, can't start without mentioning the elephant in the room. Connor Griffin made his debut for the Pittsburgh Pirates, number 1 prospect in baseball. He's an absurd freak of an athlete, size, speed, playing the shortstop position at an elite level. Got his first big league hit in his first at bat against Kyle Bradish, doubled into what his dad has dubbed Connor's Corner, apparently, because of the work that they've done on hit tracks all offseason. Thoughts on his debut from a Cardinals fan?
Was not excited to see him called up. I still believe in JJ Weatherholt a little bit more. But, I mean, the dude's an unreal player.
This is the Baseball Unstitched podcast. We all believe in JJ Weatherholt more, but that's beside the point.
Griffin's an unreal player. There's no doubt in my mind that this guy's gonna. He's been a little bit slow since that double. There's no doubt in my mind this is a guy who, within the next month or two, is going to catch fire, get some hits. I think he's quite literally just too good of a hitter to not be at least a halfway decent hitter at some point soon.
And it's just going to be adjustments, and I think it's what he does. It's what he's done in his short minor league career better than most of the guys drafted at the same time as him. Is that, right out of the gate, he was not the guy, and he did have some troubles with in-zone hitting, and then made a big adjustment and became one of the best hitters across minor league baseball. So the likelihood is he'll make that adjustment. Also, top of the list for this week in baseball, Brewers, Yankees, Dodgers, all off to a hot start. I put 7-1 on the outline. I believe it's 7-2 for all of them, actually. But no shock to anybody that those 3 teams are top of the board in baseball. They're just playing well. They seem very relaxed in their element. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, absolutely. We also got this week Sandy Alcantara. Looks like he might be back. This is a guy, I believe 2022 was his Cy Young year, if I'm not mistaken. Then 2023, 4.14 ERA. Missed 2024 with injury. 2025, 5.36 ERA. So far this year, 2 starts, 0 ERA through a Maddox shutout complete game. I
think it was 93 pitches
just a couple of days ago. I mean, Alcantara, this guy's fully good, ready to go. I believe he's a free agent this year as well. There's a good chance that he gets a massive deal, and he has another chance to make a run at Cy Young Award, where he can maybe take off Skeens for sure.
See, here's what I think is fascinating about him. We're not even seeing 1 strikeout per inning. His stuff is good enough that he's adjusting and adapting to a league that is learning how to hit him and making it so that they can't put hard contact in play. 7 total hits across 16 innings so far. Only 12 strikeouts. I think that is the greatest thing to me, is that he's learning how to be efficient and utilize his stuff to give the Marlins innings, right? He's not just out there saying, I'm going to go throw 5 and dominate and strike out 10 and everybody's going to be happy to me and I'm going to hand it to the bullpen. Like, he wants to eat innings, especially since he's missed so many up to this point. So it was good to see. I'm not shocked by it, to be honest. Paul Skeens was Paul Skeens. Struck out 5 over 5 innings of shutout baseball. Got his first win the other day. A very different Paul Skeens than we saw on opening day. I do expect that we will just continue to see this guy who goes and gets guys out, is somewhat efficient. We'd like him to get a little deeper into games, but the reality is the Pirates are giving him enough run support that he really doesn't need to. And the bullpen's pitching pretty well. I think Paul Skeens got to be pretty happy with what he's got behind him right now, other than O'Neal Cruz in center field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that experiment's getting close to over, especially with Jake Mangum. But Paul Skeens is quite literally just too good to not be good. That's just where we're at right now with him. Another starter who looks like they might be back as well, Zach Gallen. Big week, 6 innings, a shutout ball against the Rockies. Another Sandy Alcantara as well, another former Cardinal prospect that the Cardinals decided, now we want Marcell Ozuna instead, traded them both to the Marlins, but that's beside the point. Zach Gallen looks like he's back. He sat in free agency for a long time, ended up accepting what's basically a qualifying offer deal to go back to Arizona for 1 year to try to prove it. He's looking really good as well. Another guy who's been up in Cy Young talks in previous years, but had a rough year last year.
Also on the docket, some injuries across the board. My Cy Young pick for the American League, Hunter Brown, currently on the injured list with a shoulder strain. Juan Soto coming around second base, heading to third, strained calf. Mookie Betts went to the IL with a back injury. Mike Trout got hit in the hand. X-rays were negative. Hand still swollen. Probably be a few days before we see him back in the lineup, unfortunately. And then the really tough one, Jordan Lawler. Jordan Lawler, who top prospect for the last couple of years, was finally starting to hit his stride at the beginning of this season, hit his first career big league home run, and then that same game took a fastball off the right wrist, out 6 to 8 weeks with a fracture. Just sucks to see. The injury bug is always at guys. I feel like that injury on the back arm, back wrist is so much more common right now, the way guys are training to hit. Pitchers are throwing harder. Guys are getting their hands a little bit more out over the plate. The way that they take their hands to the ball exposes that underside. And then the pitch, with as much arm side run as these guys are getting on sinkers and 4 seams and 2 seams, run right up into that hand, and guys can't get out of the way fast enough. So injury bug back in full swing.
Yeah, the last two we got, Yordan Alvarez. Shocker to all, he's good at baseball. Was not amazing last year. I believe he was injured most of the year anyway. Last week hit 3 home runs, 1733 OPS. On the year so far, he's slashing 400, 578 with a 900 slug for 1.478 OPS. When this guy's healthy, straight up one of the top 5 hitter in baseball consistently. Another big week from behind Paul Skeens, O'Neal Cruz, maybe not playing great defense, but 233 WRC plus this week. 4 home runs, more importantly, 3 of them off lefties. Always been an issue for him hitting lefties. So if he can continue to do that, that's going to make him easier to play every day in the lineup. Maybe if we can find him a defensive spot, right field, like this podcast has been talking about for probably a year now, to put him in right field. Yeah. Please put him in right field. Center field is not working out. But he's swinging it out really good right now. Really good to see for the Pirates.
Well, and the benefit there, right, is the guy at first base at the moment, Spencer Horwitz. Spencer Horwitz doesn't hit lefties well. Ryan O'Hearn is a better bat option. Always slot O'Hearn at first base, move Cruz to right, and let Jake Mangum play defense in center field. You're not going to hurt your lineup that way, and this is a group that is looking like a much better lineup than they had been previously. So, but moving on to topic number 1, we're going to talk about some San Francisco Giants baseball. Starting the year, San Francisco Giants 3-7 through their first 10 games. Now, we're not sitting here saying that they built a pitching staff of a bunch of aces and everybody's fallen flat on their face, but there's a negative 25 run differential. And largely, this is an offense that does have the capability to score runs. Rafi Devers, Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, Luis Arias, Jung-Hoo Lee, Harrison Bader, Elliot Ramos. I could keep going. There are a lot of guys that are good hitters in this league hitting very poorly already for this team. They've lost 3 straight. Even their wins haven't looked great. So let's go through those real quick. I think it's a good place to start. March 30th, they beat San Diego 3-2. Landon Roop threw really well, 6 innings, shutout baseball. Harrison Bader hit his only home run of the year. The bad, Ryan Walker almost blew a 3-run save opportunity, giving up 2 runs in the 9th. And batters 1 through 4 in the batting order went 1 for 14 with 2 walks, 0 extra base hits, and 3 strikeouts. It's not doing enough.
Yeah,
it's fine to
tough.
win. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just tough to hit when those four aren't going, especially with the top four they have in the order. I mean, Devers, this is a guy who straight up, again, another guy, one of the best hitters in baseball when he's going. He's been really consistent over his entire career. Willie Damas, I believe, hit 30 home runs last year, 29, 30.
Yep.
Another
30.
guy that has to be going. Elliot Ramos, another guy has to be going. When those 1 through 4 are struggling in the order, it's going to be tough for them, especially with 3 strikeouts. That means they're putting the ball in play, and it's just not going anywhere for them. These top 4 in order, there has to be 1 or 2 of them that are going every single game for them to be successful this year. And Ryan Walker in the bullpen, we're going to talk more about him later, just has not looked incredible this year, but we believe there's some underlying stuff going on as well.
Yeah, and if you look at Devers, right, first, 10 games of the year last year? It's very similar to what we saw. It took him a while to get going in 2025. I say a while being 2 weeks because early season, everyone's going to press. But I'm pretty sure it took like 30-some at-bats before he got his first hit. We're kind of just seeing the same slow start out of him. He hit his first home run the other night. I do think that there's high upside for Rafi Devers. That's never going to change in my mind. But when he's a part of a crew that's also not hitting and he's getting no help around him, it's just going to impact that pressure. Probably their best game of the year as a whole. The next night, on the 31st, they won 9-3 against San Diego. Logan Webb looked far better than his previous opening night start. 3 innings of shutout baseball from the bullpen. 1 for 4 through the lineup. Went 8 for 18 with a walk, 2 Ks, and 2 extra base hits, both coming from Willie Adames, a double and a homer. So the dichotomy of one game to the next makes you wonder what the upside is for this team. That was probably the best we had seen of them through, I think at that point was the first 5 games of the year, right?
Yeah. And like we said, Logan Webb, this was a guy who was my NL Cy Young pick. I've been singing his praises all offseason. First start was bad. National television, first game of the year. Yankees tattooed him a little bit. This start was better. I believe he went like 5 or 6. I believe he went 6. Still walked 4 guys, which is very off-brain for Logan Webb. This is a guy who usually controls counts over every single one and has always had accounts. But you're starting to see more and more of Logan Webb getting back to what he does best, which is throw the baseball, pitch every 5th, 6th day, and give them 5 to 7 innings and keeping them in the game. And he did this today, and he kind of let that off. He gave enough room for the offense to be able to go a little bit, which is kind of, I feel like, what he's best at. It's getting them a little bit of length, letting the offense go a little bit.
And this is the trend, right? You have a guy like Logan Webb who's going to go out every 5 days and give you a good start. But you have 4 guys behind him that right now feel like a coin flip. You have Landon Root, you have Tyler Mahle, and you've got 2 others that just continue to feel like the same thing over and over and over again. And so we see against the Mets, they pick up another win. Really good job out of the bullpen in that game on April 2nd. But it's Robbie Ray, right? This is a guy you expect to be similar to Logan Webb. Go out and give you a chance to win. He's going to give up runs, but he's going to throw 5+ innings, and he's going to make sure that it's 3 runs or less most of the time when he throws those innings. Still going to end up being a 4.5 ERA, but it's going to keep you in ball games as long as your bullpen does what it's supposed to. And in that game, bullpen did what it was supposed to. Blade Tidwell, who had just gotten called up, actually against his former team, who he had gotten called up to do the same thing for numerous times last year, 3 innings save, threw really well. Daniel Susac behind the plate, really good debut, went 3 for 3. Starting to inject some life into the team, but then becomes the consistent trend, is a team that goes and rattles off 3 straight losses Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And when you're losing games on a Sunday that Logan Webb is starting and Logan Webb is doing really well in and your bullpen falls apart, you're really not going to get anything going. And that's the trend for the Giants right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just not winning the games that you need to win. There's like always a sentiment in baseball, like even in college baseball seed as well. You have to win your Friday, Saturday games when your best arms are going. It's the same thing in the MLB. They have a matchup advantage almost every time Logan Webb touches the mound. This is a top, I feel pretty comfortably saying top 10 pitcher in baseball, especially when he's pitching every single year. makes more starts than anyone. You need to win most of your Logan Webb starts, especially when he's giving you 7. Robbie Ray, another guy, consistently 5-6 innings. You need to win most of his starts. Not winning that Sunday start from Webb just kind of tells you they just can't get anything going. They can't rally behind their guy in that spot as well.
Well, and the realities here, right, is that a guy like Landon Roop is going to do what he did against San Diego every now and then. Then he's going to do what he did against the Mets, which is the complete opposite. Gives up early runs, is in and out of the zone, walking guys. The team's going to make errors. They're not going to help themselves defensively. And then all of a sudden you lose a game 9-0 the day after you win a game and you're trying to get back on the horse. Or 2 days after you win a game and you're trying to get back on the horse and moving in the right direction. And so, when we start talking about, well, what do the Giants do from here? Well, we got to look at what they are doing as a whole and what needs to improve. Got to start with the offense. Offense is last, dead last in baseball. Home runs, runs, RBIs. They are getting opportunities to drive guys in, and they're not. They are not getting the big hit when they need it. This is how this game works nowadays. Guys don't get paid to put the ball on the ground. You've only got 4 home runs through the first 10 games of the season. That's not going to cut, especially when 2 of those 4 home runs were solo shots early in the game against San Diego in the same game from Willy Adames and Matt Chapman. It's not going to help you win ball games. So the big guys that need to hit, Adames and Devers and Chapman, and they got to start hitting. But the other piece of it is they've got to start taking better at bats as a whole. 26 walks, they're walking at a 7.5% clip, 4th worst in baseball. There is a world in which it looks like the Giants don't know that they're allowed to take walks. There are games where you watch their at-bats and you wonder if they recognize that they don't need to swing at pitches out of the zone. That's a problem. And that's an approach. That has nothing to do with the starter you're seeing or the way your swing feels. That's I get in the box and I know what I'm looking for. It's when I get in the box and I've done my homework to know what this guy throws and what I think he's going to throw in certain counts. And it doesn't feel like the Giants are doing that homework. And if they are, which, listen, I'm sure they are, it's not translating to the field. So something needs to change about how they're drawing up their approach. When they sit down in their hitters meeting and they say, what are we trying to do when we step in the box? What are we trying to do pitch to pitch? Something has to change. Because you start getting 10 games in and you start chunking out this season, you're going to be 30 in before you realize it doing the same thing. And that's the definition of insanity, because nothing's going to change.
Yeah, and I think the big part to mention with this as well is the division they're in. If you fall behind a little bit in this division, you're competing with the Dodgers, who, looking like right now, this is going to be a 100-win ball club. Very minimum, a 90-win ball club. You're turning around the Padres, another team's consistently a pretty decent ball club as well, fighting for a wild card spot. Diamondbacks have looked decent this year. Another team that's going to be competing for a wild card spot. And then the Rockies, they're definitely a baseball team. That is 100% true. They are a baseball team. But in all seriousness, this is an offense that has just struggled to hit this year. It looks like in the big moments they're claiming up, trying to make the big swing instead of doing it easy. And there's certain stats that we brought up, like K rate, RBIs, OPS. Like, I feel like they brought in Luis Ariz to kind of fix some of this, and they're hitting him in that cleanup spot, it feels like, to let everybody get on ahead of him and let him single in people.
Right.
And he just hasn't, like, he's hitting 275. Like, as much as I'm not a big batting average guy, Luis Ariz is not bringing a ton of value to the table unless he's hitting over 300, in my opinion. He's hitting 270.
Or if he's hitting 275, but his numbers with runners in scoring position are 400, and the time he's getting hits are when they matter. But they're not giving him those opportunities. They don't exist.
Yeah, he's hitting 275, 286 on base, 350 slug right now. I feel like he needs to just, like, we know who Luis Ariz is. We know the type of player he can be. He needs to get a little bit better right now. And the people in front of him need to get on base and let Luis Ariz do what he's going to do. Let him get in a 1-2 count for no reason, flip one to left field and score 2 runs. I feel like they're just not getting, if you're watching these guys play, they're getting claimed up in the big spots. They're not getting people on base for their big bats to hit. And when they do, they're not scoring them right now.
And I want to clarify something real quick, because I said this incorrectly. They're hitting with runners in scoring position. They're not getting runners in scoring position. They are 25th in baseball in runners in scoring position opportunities. They've only had 64 at-bats with runners in scoring position. The Athletics, the Orioles, the White Sox, the Tigers, and the Guardians are the 5 teams below them, and it's a race of 4 to 5 at-bats at that level. On the flip side, you got teams like the Astros and Mets that are well over 100 at-bats already with runners in scoring position. You have to give yourself chances, especially if you've built a roster around guys who are going to score runs without hitting the ball out of the ballpark because you play in a place that doesn't always allow that. So I think across the board, there's a lot you could say about the statistical side of the Giants and what needs to change. And I think a lot of it just breaks down to the preparation and the approach more than it breaks down to the mechanical adjustments to do those things well. It might be platooning a guy like Jung-Hoo Lee, who right now is not hitting lefties all that well. It might be giving guys shorter leashes and bringing a guy like Bryce Eldridge up to the big leagues just to give him a chance regardless of how he's doing in AAA, because you just need the energy and the new blood in the clubhouse. Because right now it feels like the clubhouse is a weird energy. I don't know if there's a better way to say it. Right? Yeah. Tony Vitello coming from college, I don't know that he's trying to treat this like a college organization. I think that he gets that it's not, but he's young enough to where some of these older veteran players may not be believing that it's their job to take on a leadership role because Vitello is so in the mix with these guys. Right? Matt Chapman doing what he did on the field the other day to Casey Schmidt and not having the resolve to be able to keep it to himself until they're in the dugout or take it back into the locker room and have a conversation with a guy when you know that Casey Schmidt is not a full-time first baseman. You know, what's the expectation here? That has to get cleaned up because it is bleeding into the approach. It's bleeding into everybody needing to be the guy. If you think Matt Chapman doesn't feel like he needs to step up and do something outrageous after he realizes that everyone's pointing at him and saying, why are you treating your teammate that way? Pressure just keeps mounting on these guys right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I'm a big time stats guy, but like a team's vibe matters, and the vibes, like watching them play doesn't look like they're having fun playing baseball. Like, the vibes are down. Like, it just doesn't look like they're having fun playing right now. Vitello, this is a guy who in college, like, I've seen him coach on field multiple times. Like, ETSU's played Tennessee in midweeks. Every year I've seen him coach on field. That's always been a thing he's really good at, is having the guys having fun playing baseball. And it just feels like the Giants aren't there right now. There's just, maybe it was just the start to the year was not great. Now we're starting to get tightened up, and just the expectation of playing better, and it just hasn't reached their form yet. We saw Vitello officially get tossed for the first time the other day. I believe that was yesterday. He got tossed for the first time. Encarnacion, I believe, was running down the line. Bad throw, but he was in the baseline a little bit. It was the correct call, but it looked like one of those calls where Vitello was like, all right, it's a little close. I'm going to go out there, get tossed, fire the guys up. He went out there, got his money's worth, and it looked like, I watched the video of it, camera angle, when he was walking back through the dugout back to the locker room. Like, a bunch of the guys were fired up for him, tapped him on the butt, telling him good job for fighting for everybody. It looks like they're maybe starting to flip the switch a little bit, but Vitello is trying different things. He's going to try to get this team going in the right direction.
Yeah, and you know, I'm curious to see when stuff starts to change as far as lineup cards, as far as position. You know, I think there's a tough battle that he faces to where, you know, you don't necessarily want everybody and their brother saying, oh, he's scrambling and he's just trying anything to see what works. But there's the other flip side, like I talked about earlier, of playing the game of insanity. At some point, you have to try new things. If you get 30 games in, you're running the same lineup card out there every day, and your offense still ranks in the bottom 5 teams in baseball across the board, that's a problem. That has to change, right? You start looking at the lineup that they're putting out tonight, and, you know, the top 4 in the lineup: Adames, Arias, Chapman, Devers. Arias is hitting second. Adames is still leading off. Elliot Ramos still hitting in the 5-hole, right? Like, at some point, you would think some stuff is going to have to change a little bit more. Jung-Hoo Lee still getting at bats. When do when do you start to make, some grand changes? I don't know that it's 10 games in. Maybe you let this go for another 5, but you definitely don't want to be sitting here, 4-11 and then scrambling to figure it out, especially like you said in that division. 4-11 is not going to allow you to hang on for very long. And the Rockies in that division have a -4 run differential. Talk about -25 run differential already. It's a problem.
Yeah, it's not good. Vibes are low.
The other guy we just have not talked about yet we got to talk about it because I think we're slowly starting to also verge on how long is his leash. Daniel Susac comes up, goes 3 for 3. He's a catcher. Everybody knows how good Patrick Bailey is behind the plate. The hard part for Patrick Bailey is the thing that he is best at is framing. Framing's still very important. I'm not going to sit here and say that ABS has taken the niche of framing out of baseball. It hasn't. However, someone like Patrick Bailey, from a standards perspective, definitely get raised on the offensive side that you want him to bring to the table. If a guy like Daniel Susac can go out there and challenge with the best of them, frame the ball just fine to get strikes, and calls a good enough game for Robbie Ray that he can go out there and beat a pretty good offense. It makes you start to think, how much longer are we going to run the Patrick Bailey experiment if we're going to continue getting a guy who hits 220 for minimal sub-double-digit power numbers and is only back there to receive a baseball? Because it feels like it's not going to be much longer.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Patrick Bailey so far this year in 27 plate appearances, 083, $185 on base, 083 slug, 22% K, -9 WRC plus. And this is never going to be a guy that's going to be 120 WRC plus. It's never going to be a Will Smith. It's never going to be a Cal Raleigh. His baseline is lower than the average baseball player and the average catcher even. He needs to get to that 80, 85, 90 WRC plus mark. And this is a guy who plays 15 years in the big leagues because he's that good defensively. But he's getting to that point where it's almost a discussion of, is the defense even worth it right now? Especially with where their offense is at. A guy like Susac in the bottom of that lineup who can get a couple hits, make something happen, flip the lineup to that top of the lineup that we know is very talented. That could be big for them right now. Like, the defense might not matter as much, especially in the current state where the Giants are offensively. Bailey's a phenomenal catcher, phenomenal baseball player. But with where the offense is right now, there's serious talks to be had, especially, like we said, Susac's back there behind him. He's proven he can hit big league pitching, and he can do a fine enough job behind the plate. There's a discussion that needs to be had whether Susac needs to be getting some more starts back there.
And again, right, hitting in the big leagues is not the same as hitting in the minor leagues. And, it was one game for Daniel Susac. He's not going to go 3 for 3 every night. But you're talking about a guy who hit 280 and slugged 444 at the minor league level. He hit 39 bombs in 1,300 plate appearances. At some point, we're talking about much different numbers than we saw from Patrick Bailey in the minor league level. Much different numbers. These are numbers that kind of inspire a little bit more hope offensively for a guy that will probably suffice defensively. I just think you'll probably start to see a more even split as the season goes on between Patrick Bailey and whoever else is available to catch the ball, because it's going to end up being a necessity offensively for them. So no need to continue belaboring the point. I wanted to make sure that we hit on the Patrick Bailey piece as well. We'll probably touch back on the Giants in the next couple of weeks and see how things are progressing. But, pitching-wise, they're exactly what we expected they would be. They're finding some arms in the bullpen to make up some innings. The starters are exactly who we thought they were. 3 of them are going to be a coin flip. Robbie Ray and Logan Webb are going to go out and give you a chance to win most nights. It's just what it is. If you can find the offense to back up those other 3 guys, then you're going to win plenty of baseball games and give yourself a chance at the wild card. But if you keep going this direction, it's probably not going to change much. Moving on. We're going to switch to a topic that's actually going to enlighten me. You're not going to hear my voice as much. And Ryan, who's not here, will get to learn from the other side of the phone, from Jackson's bullpen. We missed it last week. I'm excited to hear what topic you have for us this week, because you did not tell me.
Yeah, so topic for Jackson's bullpen this week. Excited to kind of get my way into it without just coming in after y'all film. This is a weird experience for me, but sat down today and looked through some pictures and decided I want to talk about a guy who made it on the Scudder Report this week. Check it out on Twitter. It comes out every Monday. I talk about the best pitching performances from the previous week. But Emerson Hancock from the Mariners has been lights out this year. This is a guy's 6th overall pick in 2020 out of the University of Georgia. Made his debut in 2023 with 12 innings pitched. So far in the MLB career, if we're being honest, has been a disappointment. In 2024, made 12 starts, 4.75 ERA, 5.69 FIP, 15% K rate. 2025, 22 appearances, 16 starts, 6 in the bullpen, 90 innings pitched, 4.9 ERA, 17% K rate. Has not been great. This year's found his way into the rotation to start the year and has been lights out. So far in 2 starts, 12 2/3 innings, .71 ERA, 2.49 FIP, and 33% K rate. The big difference this year, it's the pitch usage. You can go to Baseball Savant and look at it right now. The pitch usage has completely flipped on its head. Last year, the most used pitches were the sinker, 39%, fastball at 27%, the changeup at 20%. This year, 44% fastball, saw a 17% jump, 25% sweeper, up from 3% last year, and 17% sinker, down from 21%. He's added the sweeper into the arsenal. It looks like it's going to be to get more chases, get more whiffs out of the zone. His chase rate's up 5%, whiff rate also up 5%, and K rate is up 16%. He's also added in a little cutter pitch that's a little bit shorter than the slider he was throwing last year. And he's using the changeup more sparingly, mainly just the lefties. He looks like he's picking his counts better, and it looks like he's using certain pitches against certain hitters in a better way. The sinker is still being used to righties a lot more, but he's cut down the left-handed usage a lot. Sinkers typically pitches that play better, same-handedness or right on right, and he's using that fastball a lot more against lefties, which should play even better as well. Hancock's a guy, like I said, the Mariners have an amazing rotation. If he can be a good 4 or 5 starter for them, it's going to make that rotation even better, and he's off to a great start this year.
So one thing that I think is worth mentioning, a 5-degree drop in his arm angle. He's now coming out at 13 degrees, which I also think is why we're seeing the changeup less. Because if you watched that start specifically, you'd see that he's very uncomfortable throwing it right now. He's yanking it a lot, coming from that arm angle that's kind of 3/4 from the side. Yeah. And I think it's adding a little bit of deception to the four seam that is kind of a dead zone fastball, 14 IVB, 14 horizontal break. Yeah. But when he plays it really well off of 2 other fastballs that are going either direction with the cutter and the sinker from a new arm angle that guys haven't seen before, he's getting whiff on pitches that shouldn't be swung and missed at. Not going to say that it's going to maintain that for the entirety of the season, but it benefits his ability as he goes to continue to get softer contact, right? 28% whiff on a 4-seam that is dead zone means he's either locating it really well or he's sequencing it incredibly. I don't doubt that it's the latter. I think that's very possible. But it helps to be able to sequence it when you have a sinker and a cutter that are getting similar rates of whiff and also playing in a very similar slot in a similar direction. The sweeper is disgusting. He threw one the other day that Cal Raleigh barely caught because it was so gross. I just think that, his goal is to shake the moniker of being the 6th man in that rotation. They're really well known, the Mariners are, of having some really good right-handed arm talent. I think he's at the top of the list as far as what he can bring to the table, how he can move a ball. It's clear when a guy can change his arm angle and still adjust his stuff and be that good. The only thing I worry about is health. Because the more pressure and time you put on something so new that your body's not used to, the more I worry about health issues. However, I believe they talked about how this arm angle is a little bit more of a natural spot for him comparatively to where he was trying to get to. This is kind of where he let his body kind of fall into after coming back from injury. So the hope is that he is moving up and to the right at this moment.
Yeah, the last 2 things I wanted to bring up, especially with the arm angle, is first off, his walk rate has dropped. He's been about league average in walks so far in his career. This year, obviously, just 2 starts, 2% walk rate. Very impressive. So I agree that it appears, at least for his pitches as a whole, it looks more comfortable for him. And the other thing, that fastball getting more whiffs, when you lower your arm slot, typically it makes your VAA a lot better, especially at the top of the zone. So
Tell me what VAA is.
VAA is the angle in which the ball approaches home plate. So 0 would be flat, which is technically impossible because there's always going to be at least a downward angle. For a fastball at the top of the zone, you're trying to get as close to 0 as possible. That's something that we look at a lot of ETSU, especially with ride guys who with lower slots, can their fastball play well at the top of the zone. Our Friday guy here, or our Saturday guy here, a good chance to get drafted this year, has an elite VAA, makes his fastball play really well at the top of the zone. Brian Wu, another guy, has a very elite VAA. Hancock with that small dip in arm angle, that could have been something that his VAA might be playing a little bit better now at the top of the zone with the fastball, which is helping him get whiffs, and it helps negate the fact that the movement might not be incredible, but dropping that arm angle might look like it has a little bit more ride to make it play even better.
I like that. And VAA stands for vertical attack angle.
Vertical approach angle, vertical attack angle. Yeah,
there you go. Vertical approach angle. For those of you that are new to these topics, I want to make sure that people always know what it is we're talking about.
Yeah,
because as a hitter, not a pitcher, in my career, these are topics that I knew existed and probably would have made me a better hitter to know a little bit better, but are interesting things to understand about pitchers and what they bring to the table. If I'm a hitter and I know that a guy comes in with a VAA that is closer to 0, then the way that I approach the at-bat, what I think he's going to throw me, where I think he's going to want to attack, where he thinks his stuff plays the best, changes the way that I want to hit. Again, these are things that Emerson Hancock is going to have to think about, be aware of, keep track of as he continues to game plan. Because you can't do the same thing for 30 straight starts. Teams will figure it out. Teams will game plan against you. Hitters in this league are too good to get beat by it over and over and over again, especially in their division. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the Mariners and what they're seeing out of him. The best teams in baseball always come in with a plan, and part of that plan is the expectation that a guy that we have not seen be as successful as possible is as successful as the team knows he can be. If they can get Emerson Hancock to be that, it will negate a lot of injury stuff that they've had to deal with, and it will bridge the gap for their rotation to continue feeding a good, consistent ball club night in and night out. Speaking of guys who are showing up early in the year, pitching really well, it's giving us a little bit of excitement. The Yankees. Cam Schlittler, top of the list for how good he's been. But I want to talk about the Yankees season highlight as a whole in the scope of the pitchers, because they're looking to just run back their roster. You said this to me yesterday when we were putting the outline together. The unique thing about the Yankees is that they didn't make a lot of moves. Last year, coming into the season, we talked about, I got one of the best rotations in baseball. Then Garrett Cole goes down, and then Clark Schmidt goes down. And it's like, okay, see how it goes. And Max Fried turns out one of the best seasons we've ever seen from him. Jack Wilson thought so much of it that he picked him for his Cy Young for the AL this coming year. And Max Fried's been solid. Carlos Rodon had to get stuff removed from his elbow. He still hasn't come back. Garrett Cole, we've only seen him for an inning in spring training. No real timetable on his return. So the Yankees came into the start of the season and said, we're going to run with a 4-man rotation, which is crazy. But they had the right amount of off days, and it worked out well that guys could make their starts. And now we've already seen Max Fried 3 times. The biggest acquisition they really made was getting Ryan Weathers in a trade with the Marlins. Weathers has been fine, not terrible. Walking too many guys, I think that's really his downfall as a pitcher to begin with. But across the board, this Yankees rotation, in the midst of waiting for Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole to come back, have done way more than expected to be nearly as good as they are. And I think largely because of Cam Schlittler and how good he's been. But Jackson, highlight for me, if you will, some of the numbers that we're seeing for the starters and the relievers as far as ranks across the big leagues.
Yeah, to say that their rotation's been the best in baseball might be even still an understatement. Just a 1.81 ERA right now, first in baseball, only 10 runs given up, 0.89 whip, 2.59 FIP. That WHIP is first, that FIP is second. 26% K rate, 11th in baseball, but a 6% walk rate, which is third in baseball, which I feel like is something that the Yankees have had problems with in the past. Typically, a team that has a lot of power pitchers and maybe has a little bit more trouble with walks has not been the case this year. And on the back half of that, the bullpen has also been really good. 3.23 ERA, 11th in baseball, but they backed it up with the best FIP in baseball of the bullpen at 2.09. That is a 27% K rate, 8% walk rate. Another bullpen that is just doing a very good job filling it up, getting strikeouts, and also not walking a lot of guys. A 1.21 whip, 8th in baseball out of the bullpen. They're just not allowing guys to get to first base. And when people get on base, they're not allowing the big hit. I believe just 2 home runs given up this year. You could correct me on that. Just 2 home runs given up this year. They're not allowing hard contact. They're not allowing free passes. And those are 2 things. If you know baseball just a little bit, big keys to pitching. Don't allow free passes. Don't allow the long ball.
Yeah, and for those who are curious about the difference between ERA and FIP, because it's a big thing with the bullpen, FIP is called fielding independent pitching. The goal of it is to measure how good the pitcher specifically is. It's focused on walks, hit by pitches, home runs, strikeouts. It's only things the pitcher can control. When it gets late in the game, teams make errors. When it gets late in the game, sometimes balls aren't hit very hard, but they find a hole. Those are things that in an ERA world, with just runs getting scored, can hurt a bullpen. But the fact that there's as big of a discrepancy between their ERA and their FIP tells me that the pitchers are doing their job. They're coming in, they're throwing strikes, and they're kind of, been a little bit of a hard luck loser in certain spots. Now, on the flip side, their closer, David Bednar, leads the league in saves with 4 already in 10 games. So he looks very good. There's only a couple spots in the bullpen that are struggling right now. And if you take those 2 guys out, they've been really solid. And the guys I want to talk about out of the bullpen that I think are worth mentioning, Brent Hedrick, Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz. Because what Aaron Boone is doing right now is he's using his bullpen bridging the gap to get to a known high leverage arm. This has been my biggest struggle with the way their bullpen has been built the last 3 years. It's just a bunch of high leverage arms. Who and how you choose to use those guys and when those guys know that they're going to throw makes it really hard on them. It's really easy for David Bednar right now. He's sitting in that bullpen until the 7th inning and knows he doesn't even need to pay attention. He's not going in unless it's a save situation. They've got enough arms to do all the rest of the work. That's a beautiful thing to have. When you've got guys like Brent Hedrick, 6 games, 5 innings pitched, no runs, a 1.6 FIP, 32% strikeout. A third of the hitters that he is seeing, he is striking out. That's ridiculous. Tim Hill, soft-throwing lefty, 4 2/3 already, another 0 ERA, has not walked anybody. What's the number 1 rule when you come in out of the bullpen, Jackson? Number 1 rule.
Walk people. Do not walk people.
Gotta throw strikes. That's what these guys are doing.
Come in the game, throw strikes. Come in the game, throw strikes.
Now, on the flip side of that, guy you love talking about, Fernando Cruz, one of the best splitters in baseball, walks plenty of guys, but he also strikes half of them out, so he tends to get away with it. 2.7 ERA through 5 games up to this point. Now, again, long season. These bullpen arms will have their days where things will fall apart and it'll hit the fan, and that's the nature of having that role in throwing 60 to 70 innings a year. But the start of it for this team that has struggled to find consistency over time out of bullpen roles, having both lefties and righties that they are comfortable using right now, I think speaks volumes to what we should expect for the Yankees down the line. Tell me a little bit more about some of the starters.
Yeah, the main guy to highlight has been Max Fried. As you said, Jack Wilson picked him to be Cy Young. When Jack Wilson says things, you listen to them. Max Fried is a very, very good pitcher, been very consistent. This year, 3 starts already, 20 innings pitched, 1.35 ERA, 2.85 FIP, 20%, near 20% K rate, 7% walk rate. I mean, this is a guy with ace upside who, when he signed that contract, was not necessarily thought to be an ace. I mean, they still had Garrett Cole Rodon at the time. Max Fried has stepped up and been that guy for him so far this year, mixing a 6-pitch mix in right now, not throwing any pitch over 25% of the time. We're seeing it more and more, mixing pitches a lot. The other guy to look at has been Cam Schlittler, who has arguably been the best pitcher in baseball so far this year. Is that?
I mean, it's nice when it's nice when you throw 3 fastballs that nobody can hit.
Yeah, so far this year, 2 starts, 11.2 innings pitched, an ERA with 3 zeros in it, 0.00, 0.63 FIP, 40% strikeout rate, and has a really good walk rate of 0%. That typically helps out a lot as well. This is a guy who 33% fastball, 30% cutter, 26% seeker. He is throwing the ball hard and is moving different directions, and he's asking you to hit it, and you're not hitting it. Those slight changes in movement, slight changes in everything makes it a very tough pitcher to hit. He's getting whiffs, and this is a guy who's also been a little bit of a two-sided pitcher this year. Throwing the sinker 40% to righties, just 14% to lefties. Throwing the fastball 44% to lefties, just 12% to righties. Using the cutter a little bit more against both. He's picking and choosing his battles on when to throw his certain pitches. He's been incredible this year. I think there's a real chance that he finishes top 5, top 10 in Cy Young voting. He's a very impressive pitcher to watch. And that's also a very repeatable thing as well, throwing fastballs. And it's also a little bit, it's good on the arm as well. This is a guy not throwing power change-ups, big sweeping sliders over and over again. It's more repeatable on the arm, and it's more proven what he can do.
I think what's also really nice about it is that, you know, some days he'll get a lot of contact and he'll get unlucky, but most days he's throwing so many strikes because he's just throwing fastballs with different grips. He made an adjustment on the cutter, gained velo on it, gained a little bit of depth and sharpness on it, and now you're just talking about a guy who basically can throw the ball over the middle of the plate and get poor contact over and over and over again. That's incredible. There's really not much more that you'd ever ask of an arm. And I think, like you said, the benefit of the repeatability, the benefit of the health and comfort of just releasing a ball the same way. You're not manufacturing spin. You're not manufacturing rotation. You're not trying to create stuff. Stuff just happens when you're his size and his speed. So I don't see a reason why it won't continue. I think this is going to be one of the most dangerous teams in baseball all season long when Garrett Cole eventually comes back and if Carlos Rodon comes back healthy. Because at the beginning of the year last year, before these bone chips acted up in his left elbow, he was throwing harder, and he was also one of the better pitchers in baseball. The AL East has some of the best pitchers in baseball right now between Cam Schlittler, Max Fried, Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease. We could talk for hours about how good these guys are, but you guys only come here to listen to us for an hour, and so we appreciate your time. Jackson, any final thoughts on this week?
The one final thought I wanted to bring up, I didn't get to talk about my Cardinals any today, so I wanted to finish it out with Jordan Walker. One of my favorite prospects, has struggled to begin his career so far, but this could be a resurgence year. He is still just 23 years old. This is not like a 28-year-old. He is 23. Hitting 300 this year, 567 slug, barrel rate's crazy. The difference this year, he's getting a better launch angle on it, hitting the ball in the air a little bit more. This is a guy, if he can keep it going this year, has 30 homer potential. Love Jordan Walker, love what he's been doing.
I love it. I think that's adequately said. My final thought this week, as it always is, the Denison Big Red on Friday took 2 games, a total score of 26-1 across a doubleheader. They are now 19-1. Head coach Mike Deegan is now 3 wins away from 400. They look good. They look really good. They had their starter in the second game, I believe, went, if I saw the notes correctly, went an absurd 5 innings, no hits. I believe he put up some disgusting K numbers. He's a really hard-throwing lefty. The team's good. Keep an eye out for him. If you pay attention to D3 baseball, they are absolutely one to follow. Back on the field, I want to say Wednesday, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, so tomorrow. That's all I got. Jackson, I appreciate you joining us for the full episode this week. Ryan, we missed you. we'll have you back next week. But for us here at Baseball Unstitched, that's it for this week. Go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I think I got them all. Have a great week.